truth and preservation of our soul shine. I can feel it, yours and mine. Close your eyes and witness it inside. In your bones, you will know. Trust and let go, and let it flow.
Welcome to episode 9 of All Things in the Name of Love. Today I have with me a dear soul sister, Christine Carlisle, who I adore. And she and I were supposed to start doing this an hour ago. We got so deep in conversation that we just forgot. But one of the things that I think would be really relevant for us to talk about is what we were talking about how energy works with humans. And like, I had a recent experience where a being that I was connected with loved doing not just eye contact, but eye gazing. And
yeah, it's a yogic or actual spiritual practice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened was we created a bond with each other that was incredibly intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And created misunderstandings and all that stuff, and that's fine because it was part of my spiritual growth. And so that's A. Part B is I've had some physical things going on with my root chakra, and I tuned in, and this being who I still love and am connected with has lowered his frequency, and through that, entities have come through to attack me. Now, where Christine and I started to connect on was the concept of when you have sex with someone, you're not just having sex with that person, you're having sex with the person's other partners and then their partners, and then it expands. So you're not just having sex with one person. So I wanted to start with that because it's just such a fascinating concept, and I don't think anyone really gets how important it is to have
It's a big decision.
energetic awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So where my training is in the esoteric teachings of the Ascended Masters, which gave us so much information about the your spiritual anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
So you come from the level of your I am presence, an individuation of the one I am.
Mm-hmm.
That name I am that I am is what God the Father, God the Mother, our Father, Mother, God, is individuated. We have an individuated mighty I am presence, or that's what they call it, an I am God presence. That is existing in eternity, in no time, in all time. It is the source of all life, and we have this stepping down into the physical plane. Anyhow, I hope my voice is not going to do this. So anyhow, then you have a higher self, and then you have this physical form. So this is this vertical understanding. And once you're, the reason I'm saying all of this is just so that as you're listening to me, you'll get a sense of where I'm coming from, that training, but also in terms of spiritual practices, because people without knowledge about your own energetic body and another person's energetic body and the responsibility between two people interacting, then it sheds a light on maybe how important these relationships are. To enter into intimacy with another individual is a big decision. And it isn't always just if you love them, if you're attracted, let's go for it,
Right.
So the idea there is that you have, all of us are an embodiment right now, because we have what I would call untransmuted aspects of ourself, or selves that are not united wholly with our own God presence. So we're multidimensional, and we can have great enlightenment and self-realization, self-knowledge on all those levels, at the same time having on all those levels really low levels that we haven't mastered yet, that we don't even know about, our hurts, our wounds, our records, being on earth, sharing the collective DNA of the earth. It's just, there's so much that we are not yet. If we were completely one with all that God is, we probably wouldn't be an embodiment, or the entire earth would be ascended and we all be ascended.
Right.
And this would be a non-issue.
Right.
So therefore you have aspects of yourself, those things which you created, experienced, exist around you. They're in your field. You have it. Every person has it. Okay. So when you actually exchange it, when you're making love with somebody, you take on that which is in what is been termed the electronic belt. It exists right around the navel, which kind of makes sense. The lower chakras that are not, these are energies that are not perfected, self-realized, or even conscious, that have not been brought up to the level of the heart, of the Christed heart. From there is that pure love and that pure expression, and that exchange is going to be pure and holy. And I'm not, and the lovemaking was made by God, and it's a holy thing.
Right.
So here we are, individual, one by one. This is why I think you have this saying in the Bible about not yoking. The yoke has to be equal. In other words, who you're with, and that's what they're talking about. Who you're going to marry needs to be on the same spiritual level that you are, so that when you come together, you will enhance that Christ light between you. You will enhance the love. You will expand the love. You will expand the love you have, that all that's good. And that love is, and you're already two people. I think it's really good to be on a path of awakening, whatever that is, so that you're already with all your heart are directing all your energies toward that effort. So therefore you get together with someone who's perfect. No one is, but you want to share that burden because you love them, because you've got an inner confirmation that, wow, this person is already what I would call under their own. They've got a solid relationship with their God presence. I've got a solid relationship with mine. And then when you come together, then you are only going to expand your own connection with your God presence. This is the real reason to get into serious relationship with anyone. Is this relationship going to further me on my, I don't mean this, we're both dedicated to this thing. I'm coming together because I'm going to help you ascend and you're going to help me ascend. And that person loves you so much that they're not going to judge you. But they're also going to you're going to love them so much that you're going to want to be a better person. Because ultimately, after all, the love making is, hopefully it's healthy and it lasts for a long time, but you go for a certain period of time in marriages. You get to the point where you're like, that part is an initial phase, that initial love. Remember the initial love you felt when you first had awakening with your own God presence, and you're in love with God because you feel the beloved, which is your higher self, and all the angels and God so in love with you. And then so in esoteric teachings, we call that the honeymoon phase with our own God presence. It's like, I'm on the honeymoon. And you walk into the room and you walk in, you're like, hello. And you're just blissed, and you're the new blushing bride, and you're blushing because you feel how loved you are. Oh, it's so precious. And whether you're walking with Yeshua or Mother Mary, or it's not personified, but you're feeling the light of it, that is a beautiful thing. And then eventually what'll happen is then God in you and God and all of that goes, okay, now let's get down to it. And then as the years go by, you're like, but we were all blissed out. How come I'm feeling fear? How come I'm feeling darkness? What is this? How come I'm feeling that from that person? What's going on? What happened to the honeymoon? And then all of a sudden, all that light that came in is going to start bringing up everything in you that is not light. And that's the beginning of that taking responsibility, if you have hopefully a good teacher. I'm sort of meandering here. Sorry.
No, but it's so, there's so much.
There's a lot to this. And this is, this is a big deal. People come into this life, especially as, I think, I don't know, I'm a woman in this embodiment. It seems like mostly, I came in just like so romantic at heart. My mom was the same way, finding the love of your life, something to mirror that, and making that a priority. I've got to get married and then have my kids and this and that. And then and then you get in there and it's not a happily ever after movie. Well, why is that? Maybe you weren't equally yoked.
Right.
Maybe you weren't instructed. Maybe you didn't wait long enough to actually find someone that is invested in the relationship of seeking God as you are, if that's what your path is. So at any rate, you go ahead and make love with somebody ahead of time before all that, and you will, and you can take on actually the karma of that person. And like you pointed out so astutely, and you're the first person I've ever met that's ever said that to me, who gets it, and everyone else they slept with. So, gee, all of a sudden that makes me go, I'm going to hold off on that. Let's have another glass of wine and talk, or how about if we go have a cup of coffee? Let's hold off on this.
It's not just lovemaking though. I mean, the scrying, the eye gazing,
eye thing,
that's more intimate in many ways than lovemaking.
I only experienced that recently with someone who I also trusted, and as soon as it got started, within a matter of 5-10 seconds, I found myself internally going, we are focusing on our I am presence, having to instruct what was coming through the eyes. And I was like, I felt all of a sudden like I was in some sort of a Star Wars encounter, where you're going, and we are focusing on our I am presence.
Yeah.
We are not focusing on anything less than the field of the heart and the Christ. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I see Christ in you, the I am presence, the higher self, the Buddhic self, whatever you call that, Atman, whatever.
Right.
That's what you're looking at in
Right.
me.
Right.
And that's all, sweetheart, that you get to look at.
But
and then I'm like, this
is
not fun. And he's like, isn't that wonderful? And I'm like, no, I want to leave,
because it's like awareness. That's the other part to this. Like I've met people who just love to eye gaze, but it's like I'm trying to come up with the analogy. It's like skimming through a manual and thinking you know how to run the car.
It's unenlightened practicing it without understanding what you're doing.
Right.
There are people that want, again, self-realization, awareness, waking up requires that inner work, a genuine relationship with whatever that is that you call, that is your first love. If you really have a genuine relationship with that, and to stay under that, you will know immediately when someone's looking at you that it is not that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the fact that
it makes sense to me.
and that makes sense to you because you're like, wait a minute, this is not what this was intended to be. Right. But what we have in a lot of spiritual practices that are saying you must go and get what you need. You are already enlightened. You already have self-knowledge. You already are a god or a goddess, which is ludicrous, frankly. And so therefore I can come in and take. I must come and take.
Right.
And wait a minute. No, we have to be responsible. I'm only responsible for what's in my field and this. And then by God's grace do I serve you and communicate. I come to you with a cup of that would be worthy, that Yeshua gave to me. If I can just pass that on to you, this is the greatest gift to share with one another. Right. And so, but yet you have a person that they don't want that. They're coming in to get something that they themselves have not earned. That comes from this, not from you. You don't parasite. In other words, spiritual parasiting off of someone.
Which is such a fascinating thing, because when you don't have awareness, I mean, I'm innocent. Like my soul is very, very innocent. I'm an old soul, very innocent. So it's a tough balance.
Good thing.
It's a tough balance though sometimes, because like when I started this practice, I'd never done it before. It's like, wow, this is really amazing. So I didn't have the discernment, and that's on me.
And so you opened up to that person. Yeah.
And then because it happened many, many times, I kept on opening up, even though I had this slight little part of me that was like, you sure really want to do this? It wasn't loud enough for me to hear it.
Right.
So I didn't have the consciousness that I have now to be able to hear that.
Sure.
And now that I've experienced what I've experienced, it's like, oh, now get to have a conversation to bring awareness to somebody else to like check themselves, pretty much is what I'm going to be doing, because like tools that we gain, some tools are amazing, like tapping cortices to balance your left and right brain, which is
Yeah.
something in body talk.
Yeah.
That's an amazing tool, and it doesn't have any other consequences than balancing your left and right brain.
Mm-hmm.
Eye gazing or scrying, not making eye contact, because I'm sure you've seen, if you're watching this, you saw Christine and I making a lot of eye contact. That's different.
Yeah,
It's different, like,
totally. We're just connecting at the level of the heart.
right,
We're bringing in, we want to bring in our higher selves.
right,
We're you know, that's the only communication I want.
right.
And so you do also have you have power in that.
Mhm.
So you go into an environment, and this is why it's good. This maybe is why I set this out for today. So is it okay if I
Yeah.
bring this out? This is this beautiful. This is a painting by Marius Michael George. I can put it up here. This is one of the images of the I am presence. And it doesn't show the intermediary. It shows the Christ self in the level of the I am. But it's very, very beautiful. Here you are before the altar. And this is what I feel like at the heart of everything is right relationship at this time that we're living in. Right relationship means, first of all, above all things, no matter what we're dealing with at this time of great awakening, is to anchor every day. And this would be calling, putting on your armor. Every morning I get up and I release my mighty I am God presence into the physical plane, because the I am exists at the highest dimensions. So the teaching is that every day you in the physical plane need to literally pull it down by the magnet of the heart.
Okay.
The heart is magnetic. The I am presence is electric. You establish the electromagnetic field, which is cohesive in the heart field. And this is what the 0 point field of infinite possibilities that our beloved friend, not friend, but you got to meet Greg Braden, who's done that beautiful work for all of us. And that is the sacred heart that Yeshua talked about. And so anyhow, that is, you have to develop a momentum on holding on to that. Every day you call it forth. And then you can also, you know, as a reflexologist, I call before I work on anybody, I call forth the sealing. I call in the angels. I call Archangel Michael, seal our electronic belt right now. Seal our connection with our God presence in Christ self this day. Expand the light in my heart. Expand the connection. Make it thicker, the cord of light going to my own presence. I feel it visibly. I send love and light and gratitude. I ask this to bless all of our conversation today and reach anybody out there who's supposed to hear anything we're talking about. And so by doing that, when I come into with anybody who says to you, and they're wanting to do this, and you can feel them doing this to your field, and you've already got that set up. And so with love, you can say, you know, you can just, your field, it'll just bounce off, and that person will get it. They'll be like, this just keeps coming back to me. I'm not getting, I can't. And then with love, you just hang out with them till you're like, what we're going to have is a conversation from the level of Christ. And not only that, that's what you want anyhow. Your soul, you know, like that's how I feel about that. It allows me to have the confidence to love like you love. So, you know, we have this love. Well, so that is a cup that God, you know, every day puts in your heart. It needs to be protected and kept for the purpose that it was intended. And then if I do that work ahead of time, then I can relax and walk into a room in love, knowing that, you know, I'm not going to feel my energy field being drained. And if I do, even with that, then you have to internally, you know, call in the angels to reinforce, because something powerful is going on there or whatever, you know, you'll discern and you'll know. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the thing about these, the right relationships that I was wanting to talk to you about. That is like, right now we have, would you agree? We were talking about when you first walked in, talking to just a random individual.
Yeah.
That spoke to you about saying, wow, things are shifting, things are changing.
Mhm.
I know it's changing. And I want to, I want to stand up. I want to, I'm not, wait a minute, there's something that's not right. There's,
Mhm.
so in the collective field of, we're having a time of great awakening. At the same time, we're having a tremendous challenge to that awakening. It's an amazing thing.
Right.
Okay. So we're in a pressure cooker.
Mhm.
If you didn't do your spiritual work now, everybody's all of a sudden very motivated to do it.
Right.
Because,
Right.
wait a minute. I think
Ah.
my own sovereignty is at stake.
Right.
And maybe even my connection with my
Mhm.
God presence.
Mhm.
If I go ahead and decide to follow the transhumanism and become artificial and, do
Right.
that whole trip, that
Right.
whole path that's being presented to us as if this is the normal tradition. I mean, not tradition, the normal trajectory we're headed
Right.
into. And we're all going, no, we're not.
Mhm.
So anyhow.
Well, this was reminding me, I had a year and a half ago, I was in this program called the Sustainable Global Leadership Association, and it was to teach us how to be heart-based leaders.
Awesome.
One of the presenters pretty much outlined, he was an academic, and he was talking about how viruses spread. And he pretty much laid out 15-minute cities.
Whoa.
And I'm sitting there.
Well, how many years ago was this?
A year and a half.
That's amazing.
So I'm sitting here and I'm feeling that's a trajectory. It's not the trajectory. It's one of many. It depends on where you put your focus, because where you put your focus is what happens. So I'm like in this internal battle because I want to speak up and I'm feeling the fire rage within me. And then I was like, okay, pause. You used to be in academia. You remember how artificial it is. You remember that you have to become an expert in something that nobody else gives a shit about. It's just true. It's true. And
I think we should quote this.
and here's this guy who's an expert. He probably gets funding from someone to like the difference between arts and science in academia. In the arts, at least as an former recovering historian, I had to go out and find my research. I didn't really get a lot of funding for it. I had to like work to pay my trips so I could get the research I needed. Scientists regularly got grants. Who paid the grants? So then it becomes this whole, and I'm not slamming any scientists. I'm slamming the system.
Yeah.
Because the system is rigged to have a certain outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
I readily admit that what I wrote my dissertation on probably has nothing to do with reality. It has to do with a reality that I thought I knew. But who wrote the census statistics? Who wrote the Labor Bureau stuff? Who chose the radio programs? Like, I'm using it based on what was my limited perspective back then that I thought was true.
Yeah.
That is expanded. And so like when I see someone like him, I have to show compassion because I have awarenesses that he doesn't have. And once I had that shift in my awareness, I was like, okay, now I can listen to him and recognize that I don't even know if he can hear different perspectives.
How did you respond? Did you speak?
I didn't speak because I was so focused on like processing and like, what's the trigger within me?
Mm-hmm.
How can I show up? Where can I show compassion? And that pretty much took the entire, like, I didn't really listen to him after that because like when I had the awareness, I was like, okay, I'm going within.
But what you did by doing that is shift the field in the whole room.
Yeah. Because I was like,
so thank you for doing the work.
Thank you. See that.
Sometimes I think when I hear what I'm hearing you say, I'm suddenly like, wow, it seems to me that hard science wants to simply verify, empower, and enable only one aspect of our being, which is temporal. We must not let it show the whole thing.
Right.
That we have that we are spiritual beings, that we have a connection with infinity right within us. So isn't it interesting, you know, that was, so it in by definition, why what I just said, that is not true science, because you can't, a true scientist would not leave out 3/4 of our being.
Right.
You know,
that's why I love the realm of quantum physics, because it's all possibilities, and
they can't get away from it.
No, and like so I play in consciousness. That's what I do, and then I have this frequency device that just fascinates my left brain, because it like tunes into my frequency and it harmonizes me with frequency. I have nothing to do with that. It is tuning into my field to determine what I need for my highest next level, whatever it is.
Right.
And there's no control over that. It's just playing in that field of frequencies, and where do I need attunement, and what do I need? Like, you cannot quantify that. I had a conversation this week with somebody where I said something wasn't in full alignment with me. And he said, what? I said, I can't articulate that. He said, why not? I said, because it's a feeling. It's a knowing, it's a sense. I don't know how to quantify those things. It's just an awareness that if something's aligned with me, it is. If it's not, it's not. So I don't know, like, I know you're an inquisitor, and I get that, and I hear that, and I respect that. I used to be that way too. But my heart, I don't go past my heart.
Yeah, you just said it right there. Because the thing of it is that the heart resonates. I don't remember, it's some huge number, which if you go to the Heart Math Institute, you can find out way more than our left brain. Okay, so when you come into that, what you just described, it's a feeling, it's an intuition, it's something in me that knows, yet I can't articulate what it is, but it's very real. And that is why you train yourself to stay in the heart. That heart frequency, the frequency machines that are awesome, they're acknowledging this, are simply training wheels. Or the heart will do that for you. Right. Because that heart is attuned to all the universal frequencies, is one with the frequency of the Christ and the I am, the source of all life. And so this is a beautiful, and I think in training is good. Because
I could see how my left brain, which is hyper developed, I'm an Aquarius and all, you know.
And by the way, I loved your left brain. I love your left brain.
I love my left brain too.
Yeah, and I love all left brains.
Right.
You know,
and
when they're spherical and serving the right and in the heart, you then have, that's when, and then that left is supposed to be the servant of the heart, the Christ, and then this goes up, and then you hook that into the pineal and pituitary, and you are all of a sudden, you know, hooking into what I would call the cosmic Christ computer. It's awesome. Every one of us has access to that. And then if we knew this, we would understand we were starting to start the path of, let's reverse and put down beneath our feet the thought that we don't have any power. We're very powerful beings. We just haven't read the manual. You know, and so this is why all the great spiritual teachings in the world, all the great scientists, all the great musicians, we're describing this, we're hearing it, the mathematicians, the geometry, there's so many things that help us, but yeah, we are very powerful. And what I'm finding right now in this time that we're living in, I was just at a meeting yesterday of beautiful people standing up, realizing that they've got to fight for not only their individual sovereignty, but the collective sovereignty
Mhm.
of in your individualized nation.
Mhm.
And this is a beautiful thing. This situation we're in is forcing people to say, wait a minute, I am who I am.
Yeah.
And then right there, they're calling their own name of God within them. So, but it's interesting how most of these people that are doing the lion's share of the work, boots on the ground in all kinds of good movements, are feeling disempowered. They have to react to the next thing that's happening. They're
Right.
it's like, wait a minute, no. We will do this from right relationship, understanding you're coming from this place and bringing that to this. We could call it the difference between non-dual and duality. So you have a duality structure that is persisting on staying alive, and we are moving into our non-dual being. And that from that field, do we claim our sovereignty, our power? When you're doing that spiritual light, when you're doing that spiritual work, then in that environment, if the people are sitting together and saying, I am empowered to do this thing, I am authorized to take back what has been stolen, and I'm doing it with love, and it is my power. I'm a powerful being. I'm a powerful being made by my father and mother. I am not supposed to allow stealing. I'm not supposed to steal from someone else. I have to stand up, so this is this empowerment thing. Like, how would you describe that to somebody who doesn't believe they're powerful at all, and that they've got to squirm before God and beg for worthiness?
I did. Okay, so
So did I. So did we
I
all.
was on Orcas Island at at a prayer meeting after in an Episcopal church, and I'm sitting next to a woman, and we pass like some sort of totem around to talk, and she's sitting here just like, I try so hard, but I just don't think I'm ever gonna like be like Christ. And so there are like 6 other people they passed around, and I get it. And I say, honey, you already are Christ. You're just remembering. It went over like a fart. And I was like, we're not ready too soon. I don't know, like, but it was like so painfully out, like she was self-flagellating, beating herself senseless because she never thought she was going to be good enough for the love of Christ, which she already is. And I had so much compassion, but it was just sitting next to me, and she's like I could feel the beating that she was giving herself. I'm like, I can't just not say something.
Yeah. So what you have right there in that situation is, so I believe we are at once miserable sinners and at once one with the Father.
Yeah.
To the degree we're transmuted our stuff.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not gonna bring my unreality before the throne of God and demand that God make it real, because it's not real.
Right.
In that I'm not the sinner, but what I'm bringing before I haven't recognized yet is not part of God. Until I let go of it and stop breathing my God-given light into it and giving it life, and then calling that God, so I'm still stuck.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yes, that's what we've done. And
Yeah.
so there's where the power is. Okay, who made you?
Right.
There's only one source that made all of us.
Right.
Okay, so therefore it's our Father, Mother, God, the great I am. Wow. Those are our parents.
So
therefore,
wait, if we're made in their image, well, that means I'm Mother, Father, God. Wait a minute, we weren't taught that, right?
Right. And so the thing of it here is that Jesus said, I and my Father are one. And I also believe he said, I and my mother are one. So I and my Father are one, I and my mother are one, is lawful and good for every son and daughter of God on earth to say out loud in the physical plane. We were told by Jesus, on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so we are acknowledging that we're a work in progress, but that doesn't take away one whit that I am one with my Father. I am one with my Christ self. This is actually who I am in my original state. Okay, so whatever journey we've been on, which we all asked for,
Yeah.
and now we're journeying back to the source. But this is a whole, but the whole time, anyone who comes to you and says, you are not that, is somebody who is it's those energies in the world we're dealing with that are breathing life into the false reality of separation. Nothing can separate you from your source unless you do by your own free will.
Right.
So these people that are saying God has abandoned us, and he's up there going, sweetheart, you left me. I'm over. I'm right here.
That's the original sin.
Yeah.
Is when we forgot. Like we always have been source. Like when I was 3, my grandfather had a cabin on a beach, and my parents took me down. I'd just gotten out of my body cast, and I'm like, oh, I can walk, and it's amazing.
Aww.
And there was a flock of geese, Canadian geese, and I just walked in between them because they were my friends. Right? I don't see anything other than my friends are there, and they surrounded me, and they're
saying
hi. My parents freaked out because geese can be nasty. I didn't want to leave because I resonated with them more than my parents. And so after like 15 minutes or I don't even know how long it was, my parents finally got me to walk back over and like, don't you ever do that again. I'm like, but they're my friends. So I've never understood this lie of illusion because I have trees and rocks and furniture and my car all talking to me. It's just that I had to slow myself down enough in my awareness to feel sense and know that that's what's happening. There's no separation.
All energy is alive. It's all alive, and you know, it's where it's resonating at. Yeah. Because the child knows instantly if a thing is danger, and they don't go there. They know instantly. Right. Just like animals do. So yeah, that's really true. Yeah. That whole statement is, the thing of it is though, is that then you have on the opposite end, I see in New Age traditions, which I was a part of and still am a part of it, but not like, in other words, I guess I would call it almost like a counterfeit of the real esoteric teachings. Is to say, I am a god, I am a goddess, I am the Christ, I already am, you know, and they haven't even begun to do the work on the path. Okay, so that is where, when I encounter that, where I go, yeah, so we have to go back to, you, dear heart, need a little, we should carry around a nice, healthy portion of humility with us at all times. To realize when the ego wants to come in and claim something, that ego structure that says, I am God, is just what Lucifer did. He said, I am God, I will say. But he wasn't even one with his own, you know, so in other words, we're still on the path of that which Christ demonstrated is a seed potential in all of us. Okay, if we were the Christ fully manifested, mastering all planes of mater, you'd see us starting to ascend in front of your eyes. When you're I want to say this, so you know, when you're up in the sky, I'll go, yeah, okay, I'd say you are the Christ. But until then, we're all humble people doing on the path, doing the best we can to serve each other in this path of awakening. And that needs to be taken seriously, because what we're dealing with in this awakening is the ego matrix is trying to say, we own the earth. You will be stripped of your divinity and you must go back into that matrix. And if not, we'll just make you disappear. Okay? So that's why I'm saying you take it seriously.
And the thing that I find is interesting is like we have these vessels, lots of vessels. I've had so many vessels. That
Yeah.
that they're playing on that fear of death, which is the biggest illusion we have, to comply, because this fear, and I'm watching it with my mother, who literally has a death grip
She's afraid.
of what's on the other side, and the other side is she's just spirit, she's not in her body anymore, which is falling apart. So like but it's a programmed fear. It's a very programmed fear, and if you don't have the awareness or the capacity to be able to face that fear, which she does not, it becomes terrifying. But
Well, if you don't have that foundation,
right,
then all you know is that we're mortal beings.
Mhm.
Mortality does define our humanity, but so that person has not had the experience from what you've described about your mom's life. She had a hard life. So she has not had the experience, which is why we are so fortunate to have. It is always by God's grace that you know that you're a daughter of God and that you are loved and held, that you are protected, that you have a potential, that it is by God's grace that you realize that you're the creator of your own circumstances and you're not a victim, all of that. So, and by God's grace, do you know that you were never born and you will never die, that you were an infinite aspect of the Godhead. But for people who don't, it would be very understandable why they're afraid of dying. And that's why they need that comfort, why there's such beautiful work you can do in hospice with people, the souls that are open, and go in there with the angels and call in the angels so that the angels can amplify the feeling in the soul, and the mother can come in, and Jesus can come in, or whoever you call in that you're working with, to go, oh, I'm loved. What is it that's loved? Who's loving me? Who am I receiving the love? Who is the giver? Who is the receiver? It's and feel and start to remember who they are. Yeah, it's so tough. I had a similar thing with my mom when I was her caregiver, and I was there with her till the day she died. And she was very afraid of dying and held on. And so I learned so much watching that process. And in all honesty, if I'm really honest, I'm not looking forward to that moment.
Well, yeah, because
Woody Allen goes, yeah, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Well, I remember becoming aware of like the whole way that we approach death is the wrong
in
way.
Our society.
So what we do is we have free will choice with our higher selves when we planned on transitioning out of this body. So we connect with that and we make it a party. I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna check out on like, I don't know, like 2052 or something like that. I don't know when. I just want to have like, okay, what am I going to be able to eat then? Like, I'm still going to have my sourdough because it's avocado toast. It's just a thing.
Sounds good.
And
I'm gonna invite my friends in.
Fresh fruit and like all the fun things, and we're gonna sing karaoke and we're gonna go bowling. And at the end of the day, I'm just gonna check out. I love you all very much. Like that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Honoring that, celebrating it.
Yeah, instead of like
the indigenous, people all around the world, they're all good with that.
Right.
They get it. And they acknowledge it. The elders say, oh, it's my time to go.
Right.
And they'll have a beautiful feast in some case. I forgot what it's American Indian. I don't know what tribe. I'm not educated in that, but who then leaves and they go to a place and they literally put the body down. It's a beautiful thing. And then there's also the translation in the Tibetan teachings into the rainbow body. Mm-hmm. This is a person who's a master, who has transmuted the body into light, that the body they dissolve it consciously. Wow. And that's amazing. It's amazing and fascinating. There are many accounts of it. And, you know, I see that. I love that. That is there.
Mhm.
And also in the scriptures, which we know have been messed with.
Right.
We know that it got co-opted. The whole mission of Yeshua was co-opted by Constantine and
Right.
what went on there. But at any rate, it doesn't change the fact that he made a public ascension.
Mhm.
No, okay, first of all, he resurrects and shows up. And that's where I want to talk about a little
Yeah,
bit about
yeah.
the rainbow body, because,
Yeah.
you know, one of the favorite stories is the road to Emmaus.
Mhm.
And here are these people. These were, there were many, many, many people that loved him, followed him, interacted with him.
Mhm.
They were, it wasn't just the disciples, and it
Right.
wasn't just the Essene community that was
Mhm.
working at inner levels to assist him in fulfilling what he did,
Mhm.
which was mysterious and miraculous and a gift of love,
Right.
and took on a tremendous amount of karma. This is why we're here now on this platform, to sustain the platform of evolution was part of, but at any rate, so at any rate, there was also many, many people loved him, witnessed miracles,
Mhm.
you know, and they saw him crucified, and they're all going home just blown away,
Yeah.
heartbroken, not understanding why the Son of God went to a cross and died a brutal.
Right.
What do I do with that? Not knowing to do with it.
Right.
Heartbroken, but they know that they know that they know
Right.
that they were with God.
Mhm.
And so they're walking home heartbroken, and suddenly there's somebody there saying, you know, my brothers, how are you? You seem troubled.
Right.
And they're like, we just came from, you know, Yeshua, and they crucified him, and we loved him, and we're going home, and we're, you know, and he walks with them, and they talk all this time. And how beautiful that he cared about how many people did, maybe, who knows how many people
Right.
that he ministered to that
Mhm.
were so close, that had that heart tie, that would always have that heart tie for many, many embodiments, you know. And then they invite him into his home, offer to have dinner. He blesses the food, he breaks the bread and hands it to them and disappears. And they go, did we not see our Lord Jesus? He disappeared. What was that body he was in? Okay, it wasn't the human form completely.
Mhm.
It could be a form of the rainbow body,
Right.
the light body.
Mhm.
That is what I believe, and this is just Christine believing, that this is what the human journey really is all about.
Mhm.
The human form is temporal. We infire the Christ light in us. It is the I am presence is pure atomic energy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Ignition at the level of the chakras and
Mhm.
all of it going, you know.
Right.
Okay. What was the resurrection? I mean, how powerful
Right.
is the resurrection?
Right.
How powerful was his statement? I am the resurrection and the life. This is a mantra every son and daughter of God can claim for their own and have him stand over you. Yeshua stand over us. And as we speak this truth, I am the resurrection and the life. You can say that every day of your life. I am the fulfillment of all my needs and requirements of the hour. I am on earth, even as I am in heaven. I am the open door which no man can shut. That's, that's the deal that's going on here.
It's so beautiful. When you bring that I am presence in, I wake up every morning and I have a list of things that I say to bring that I am presence in. It's just like, I am magical. I am magnificent. I am creative.
I am loved.
I'm curious. I'm unconditional love.
I am unconditional love. That's
so
very good.
I do that when I wake up and right before I go to bed. And the awareness shifts of, and I'm way more than that because I'm unlimited. But I can only like get to a certain point and then I start falling asleep.
Yeah.
but it's like this just awareness of like, I had this nightgown when I was little. It said, I can be anything I want to be.
Oh, that's an awesome nightgown.
And she was wearing an astronaut. She was a little astronaut with red hair. It was like,
oh,
so
I'm gonna fly.
We can. We've forgotten how to, like we're like where we are is like, here's like where we're going, and even the one, like, we're working on it. We're
Yeah,
not here,
yeah,
and we're going here.
yeah, yeah,
And my sense is we're going here pretty quick.
yeah. In my sense is we're all gonna have to,
Right.
and that it'll be a beautiful, and it's divine design.
Mhm.
I just feel like we're coming into alignment with this cycle we're in.
Yep.
And I believe that if we meet it with love and anticipation, we've done the work, that it's going to be a beautiful journey. It should not have to be a horrifying, traumatic war zone,
Right.
realization of all of our darkest fears.
Mhm.
If we can, and that's the work that we can do for everyone else right now,
Right.
is to transcend the fear, put it beneath our feet,
Mhm.
because we're supposed to.
Yep.
Sons and daughters of God, putting beneath your feet that which is not real, which, like you said, is fear.
Yep.
It is simply I think it must be the greatest enemy of all of us,
Mhm.
and you put that down, and then you say, and so that we can lessen, make a smoother transition into this
Yeah.
thing that the earth is moving into another dimension, whether you want to or not. If you're on earth, you're going, baby.
Yep.
So you might as well get on board and get,
Mhm.
proactive and positive with it.
Right.
But you felt, when we were saying that, when I said that, you felt that shift, didn't you? Now that is the beauty of having, an ascended master over you, assisting you to, again, that's that entrainment. And because what you do, I just remembered this, the figure eight flow.
Okay.
The figure eight flow is, here we are, the I am presence, that light comes down, it comes, the nexus in the heart, and goes back up through the Christ self to here and back up. Now, that is also, if you have, you call for Archangel Michael, you call for whoever you are working with, you call for me, that's Yeshua is my beloved. And so that's why I feel, so connected to him. His electronic presence, his I am presence, it stands in your field doing that. And you feel it until it becomes your own. It is really smart to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we are supposed to, he can't ascend for me,
Right.
but if by your free will you say, Father, come with me, stand with me in this field, he comes right away. That's your free will choice. You are taking responsibility for your own ascension journey. And so you bring them in, they come flocking. Someone used to say, for heaven's sake, there's 1 million angels in your force field waiting around with their tongues hanging out, but you won't ask them to come in.
Come on, God, call me in.
It's like, hello.
Yeah.
And you can do that with the situations we are seeing.
Yeah.
Situations that are, if we can bring this up here and keep our high vibration that we've seen in Maui. So this is where, to intercede or not to intercede, to bring in, what do? What does the son and daughter of God do watching that?
Right.
You say, Archangel Michael, mighty I am presence of all life, our Father, Mother God, send legions of angels to Maui, save everybody, save the children, stop this darkness, intercede for and on behalf of God's will for this earth, which is love, light, protection, ascension. We are calling for light to descend there. We call for the full release and exposure of the truth regarding everything that happened there to every adult member of planet Earth, that we may know what we're dealing with here. Meanwhile, we call for legions of healing angels to take everyone who's lost their life immediately to the healing retreats, for healing, for restructuring, for repair and sustain and sew together the soul fabric of anyone who is traumatized. Heavenly Father, Mother God, stand with, and we stand with you. Every person in Maui right now, today, we are one. We love you. We stand with every person in Maui who has lost a child, who the people there will not allow them to investigate where their child went. We stand with you in your crisis, and we call to the hosts of heaven to stand with them. We call forth divine solution, and we call for the location of all missing children in Maui in accordance with God's holy will. It is done, and we thank you. Amen. And then every day you stand with them. You stand with them. They are, all of them are us and we are them. And so is God. And so is God, I believe, crying the same tears. This is not the will of God.
No, there's not.
This is not meant to happen. And so, you know, what I was trained in the Ascended Master teaching was that is how you lawfully utilize your power as a daughter, a son and daughter of God, and you use the flames of God and the light, and how you feel all of your chakras, and you feel your love, and then you feel you're using your energy body to bring light to the situation. If you're always bringing light to a situation, you can't fail.
Right.
And you know, you can also call to, because you're one with your Christ self that knows all things. And so does your I am God presence. You can call to, when I will make a prayer, I'll say, Holy Christ self and God presence of every man, woman, and child on planet Earth. We make this collective prayer to reveal what happened, release the information to everyone. And then I'll say, I call to my higher self to adjudicate this prayer. I don't know, especially when I am mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to go eat you. I'm going to turn into the Divine Mother and go eat you, blah, 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 who are doing this, you know, like, I just want to, you know, and then you have to go, and I call to my Christ self to adjudicate this prayer, because we have powerful feelings, and we don't want those to be misused.
Right.
But we also don't want to shut down our feelings. We've got to honor our feelings. So this is why you just stand with God, and you know, shutting down our feelings is really how we got in this mess in the first place. You're not honoring what we really feel, which, you know, that's part of the path. What is, if you, there's somebody who wrote a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die.
Oh, wow. That is.
It's in the unconscious and the subconscious, which Carl Jung brought so much information about that. Like, he was like going, okay, look, you can apply every beautiful teaching on the whole wide world, but if you're running around with a huge puffed up astral, you've been, you know, like, oh my God, I was murdered, and then I murdered somebody, and I'm angry, and I'm supposed to be a holy person, and like, it's not working.
Right.
So I can't handle this because I don't even know what it is. It's buried. So my body will just take on cancer. It does not, the body knows, as you know, you do body talk. So look at all that you work all the time with people, cause and effect. Why are they in what's manifesting? Right. So in other words, there's real reason why we as humanity have real anger, real resentment, real fear, real, all of those things, and these need to be honored in the path of awakening. If you go into a path of awakening, you're bringing in all this, you know, huge, powerful light into you, and then you're surprised when you're engulfed in your fear, and you're like, help, I'm drowning. What happened? Right. You know, God abandoned me. And he's like going, oh man, she still doesn't get it. What's going on with this transmutation process? And that's why it's hopefully to have good friends. And good teachers to say, honey, let's sit down and talk about this, or good counselors to help you process real trauma from past embodiments.
And then there's like the ancestral, and then there's the collective. I mean, there's so
and the DNA of all the ancestral. And now we're finding out that the history of planet Earth is way longer, bigger, huger than we know, that anyone, especially science, doesn't want to go there, but we know. And so that's also in the DNA and in the collective, you know, and if you're empathic, you get up in the morning and feel.
So I have a friend who was connecting with his galactic partners. And one of them was really blunt and said, you know, you get up in the morning, you don't commit suicide right in this time, right now, you're doing really well. If you do
Wow.
more than that, wow, you're just acing the day. And I'm like, it makes me feel so much better because like I'm not really like supercharged with anything right now because there's
Yes.
so much going on.
Yeah.
So like,
We have tremendous despair and fear and even so,
yeah,
and this is also again how we can and if you yourself are, if you are having, all go through dark nights, dark days, and the energy comes in. But that's also how that kind of prayer that we just did can
Yeah.
assist you
Mhm.
are helping yourself with
Yep.
these energies
Yep.
by doing that. Because when you think of it, the prayer that we just made together, thank you for letting me do that.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah.
And there is a whole lot where there are two or more gathered. We have two causal bodies here.
Yeah.
This rainbow is your causal body.
Yeah.
Everything. And so we hooked up.
Yeah.
And then you have a room full. That's why it's beautiful. But we have to take what you just said, not lightly, but with light, and to say, in the morning, if you even have a thought about that, then it's probably not yours. It's an indicator to say, Heavenly Father, Mother God, dispatch the angels to go north, south, east, and west and stand with anybody who is suicidal. Help them, stand with them, Archangel Michael. I am the love of Archangel Michael standing around anybody who's suicidal. Reinforce them, sustain them. Angels, guardian angels, reinforce the guardian angels that are with you at birth and blah, blah, blah. That intercessory work seems to me pretty critical right now because it is tough. Man, there's a bunch of people going, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. I'm out of here.
Actually, we did.
And then you go, we have all these jokes with, we used to have jokes with, with people that are like, it was your fault. We were just in heaven. You go, this will be great. We'll go to heaven. Everyone will love everybody. We'll be back in time for dinner. And then there's some great holy being going, and how many would you like? And your best friend goes, we'll go. And I'm like, look, I didn't say it. You're the one that took me. We used to joke about this a lot because, and then you turn to your friend and go, so we were going to be home by dinner, huh? That was eons ago.
Yeah, I know.
My friend.
I know. Like, how many iterations have I done?
Yeah,
really? Like seriously, like and every once in a while, I'm like, I chose this family, and I love my family. I love my family, but like, what? Like, I wrote all of this out before I came in.
Yeah, it's so
I was super ambitious.
Oh yeah, and that confirms. It confirms that you got hard lessons and you do have karma.
Yeah.
If you think that you're a perfect being already, take a look at who you're bodied with. I mean, take a look at, what you've endured before you even started waking up in this lifetime. I mean, and then you find out what you've endured in others. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to know if I could share one more thing.
Yes.
And this is to do with this book I wanted to give you.
Cool.
That I was, and I don't know how long you want to go, if you want to end this or whatever.
You can end soon. I don't know how long this is. Yeah.
And you can edit wherever you want, of course. But this morning this is it. Love Without End.
Ooh.
She is an artist. This is Love Without End by Glenda Green, and this is the picture she painted, the lion and the lamb.
Oh, wow.
Yeshua came to her studio.
Wow.
She was made aware of it ahead of time and said, if someone came and told her, and she said, well, if you think that, you've got the wrong person. You're wrong address, wrong person. That's not happening. And then internally, she started having dreams and all these indications. And then she started actually preparing for it, just like whatever. And then one day she had a kind of a knowing, and so did her kitty.
Wow.
Who just came and sat down, and then something happened in the third eye, a lot of light coming in, and so what Yeshua did is activated the third eye so that she could move into a dimension where she could see him.
Yeah.
And he came and visited her.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And appeared to her. I think it was like a 3-month period.
Wow.
Every day. And she painted this portrait.
Wow.
And during that time, they had conversations. And amazingly enough, I don't know how it happened, but she wrote down and recorded their conversation. That's what
Wow.
this book is.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
now there's all kinds of people that do channeling, that
Mhm.
say this, that they say that. I know his spirit because I've known it since I was a child, and I've known it in other, I
Yeah.
know. And when I found this book, I started opening it just like the Course in Miracles.
Mhm.
When I opened it, I went, oh, this is Yeshua. I knew instantly the main, and you know, they can do what they want. I mean,
Right.
but here Yeshua came with Course in Miracles. He came in and said, I need to talk to you about the lie of separation.
Mhm.
And what is the difference between your soul, your spirit, and the ego? It's the ego that sustains the lie. What is your ego self? A whole huge book about knowing it, which
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle did a beautiful job articulating. God bless him. I love him. And anyhow, when I opened this up, his love is so instantly, I recognize by the love.
Mhm.
Okay. So anyhow, and that's what I want you to, but there's one thing that I wanted to share with you at the end of this. And because we're talking about this time that we're living in, that we are, like you said before, I have a feeling this coming up to the level is going to happen quickly.
Yeah.
All of us, you're one of them, you and all the people that you love in your family who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and the community of people that I was with, and many communities I've been with and interacted with are all feeling a similar thing. Like, this is coming to a head in a very powerful way. I have a role to play. I'm supposed to fulfill my part. I just know it. And anyhow, she brings this up. And this is one of the best descriptions that is coming from Yeshua. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, approximately 4 paragraphs that are, I just felt like it came up maybe to share.
Yeah.
And you can decide whether you want to include this in this or
Yeah.
not. Okay, so
Right.
she is saying here, he talks about the structures of duality. The structures which dominate the lives of man today were all created in a state of disconnection and unconsciousness. That's huge right there.
Yeah.
The powerful momentum of these structures carries with it the seed of continuing oppression. In order to survive, such creations must suppress the soul of man and perpetuate his enslavement to them. Does it sound familiar with planet Earth right now? As the time of man's fulfillment arrives, there will be a simultaneous retaliation of that which wishes to survive against the good of man. And are we not seeing that now? This exposure will, nevertheless, assist in the elevation of man's consciousness and bring about a new era of brotherhood on earth, where structures are reestablished from the state of consciousness, and I would say Christ consciousness, and the connection with divine order. At that time, a collapse of the old will occur. And we know this is on all levels.
Right.
Okay, this is economic, political, educational, spiritual, arts, education, agriculture, everything you can name that has been taken over by a counterfeit, really what it should be.
Right.
Then she says very softly, will there be great suffering? And I was grateful she's addressing the fear.
Yeah.
She had superseded this with what the deal was going on there with Revelation.
Yeah.
And he says here, the book of Revelation is a great deal more than a book of prophecy. It is a timeless revelation about the soul's fulfillment of a divine plan, along with the perilous demise of all that is false as negative possibilities fall away in the light of truth. I was like, yes.
Wow.
This book is not subject to the normal pitfalls of prophecy because it does not center its meanings on the temporal probabilities of life, nor is that the intent of its message?
Mm.
This sacred document has been greatly misunderstood
Mhm.
to be an unfolding drama of external events, which I think it partly is. But he goes, certainly a profound transmutation of the human soul would be impossible without correlations and manifestations within outer forms of reality.
Mm.
Anyhow, he goes on to say this about the suffering. He says, suffering is never the will of the Father, although none will be exempt from the experience.
Mm.
Many will feel little suffering, except for the compassion extended to those who do not experience pain and hardship. I'm sorry, who do experience pain and hardship. At the other extreme, there will be many who are so attached to that which is falling that there will be no reprieve from their personal calamity. Even this is a blessing, that lives full of anguish may bleed the venom and thereby have a chance to heal. It's very powerful. This has to happen.
Yeah.
It's a baptism for everybody. How the event is experienced will be due in large part to individual choice and also to the accumulated necessity of fulfilling choices made long ago. This is the out picturing you have. If you have a huge ball of karma rolling down, you have to let it run its momentum out.
Yeah.
I think is what that describes to me energetically in a way. Regardless of how each individual receives the impact of change, it remains enduringly true that all mankind will be blessed with the results of that human transfiguration.
Oh, I get chills.
Yeah. Doesn't it sound like Yeshua to you?
Yeah,
I was like,
I felt it.
thank you.
Yeah, I felt it.
To me, this is one of the most, and this was written in, when did it come out? This was 2000. It was 1998.
Wow.
It was before. And I went to, yeah, this came out before the Twin Towers went down and all that, within just a few years.
3 years, yeah.
3-4 years.
Yeah.
What was it? So anyhow, it's relatively recent. And anyhow,
Well, the energy feels
I
very recent.
lend this to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, we have had a hell of a wide-ranging, amazing, deep dive, and we could go on for hours and hours, and we'll do this again.
Yeah.
But I think we've hit the point of saturation.
Yes, we have.
So thank you, my darling.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. God bless you.